Good morning from the heart of New York City. This is Food School Smarter, Stronger, Leaner podcast. Podcast dedicated to one thing: to learn and apply to eat better daily. I'm your host, Angela Shurina from Create Yourself That Today, your personal nutritionist, your personal health and wellness coach, your fellow biohacker, and just someone with a lot of passion for healthy food, nutrition, healthy diet, eating to look your best, feel your best, and perform your best on all levels. On this podcast, you're gonna learn everything you ever wanna know about healthy eating, healthy food, and how to survive this hostile, very often food environment where most of the time the food you see around yourself are not beneficial to your health, to your looks, and your well-being, and also energy and performance on all levels, of course. So today, guys, we are continuing the calorie subject, and as I promised, you're gonna learn a lot about calorie this week, and today we are learning in particular about two things: food caloric density and gluconeogenesis. This fancy word that you might have heard or might not, but anyway, you're gonna learn what is gluconeogenesis and what is food caloric density. Well, let's talk first about caloric density. As you might know or might not, carbohydrates and protein, for example, contain on average 4 calories per gram, and fats have 9 calories per gram. So caloric density means exactly that certain nutrients have more calories per gram than other nutrients. So if you take the same volume of, let's say, carbohydrates and protein and the same volume of fat, then fat gonna have more than twice as much calories than carbohydrates or proteins. And from that, a lot of diets take the conclusion that you gotta consume more carbohydrates and protein and less fats, because eating the same amount of food will produce different energy results. Basically, when you eat more carbohydrates and more protein compared to more fat, if you consume more fat, you're gonna the same volume. If you consume more fat, then you're gonna end up eating much more calories, right? So, and a lot of low-fat diets were and still are based on that notion that you're gonna eat more food, eating more carbohydrates, especially more fiber and more protein and less fat. You're gonna eat more food in volume, and that's gonna make you fuller. But what research shows, what a lot of studies show, that first of all, low-fat diets are very ineffective, and most people on a low-fat diet regain their any weight that they lose really fast, and they don't even lose that much in the first place compared to, let's say, low carbohydrate diet. And why it happens? Because not only food volume or the expansion of your stomach contributes to the feeling of fullness after a meal, but also caloric density is actually more powerful signal to your brain about satiety, the nutrient density of your meal. Basically, when you're eating even less food but with higher energy content like fat, your brain gets more of a signal of fullness than when you consume a lot of volume. So let's take example of a huge salad with no fat added. If you consume huge salad and there is no fat and very little calories, then yes, at first you will stop to eat faster than if you were to consume fats, because your stomach will be full of stuff faster. But then once that gets digested, you get hungrier faster and for much more food, because the volume of your stomach has increased because of all this fiber and water and just bigger volume. So the studies show that in the long run, eating bigger meals low in calories actually makes you hungrier and makes your stomach expand, and that also contributes to you eating bigger volumes of food. What you want to do instead is eating more calorie and nutrient dense food, like fatty protein, as I like to call it, basically meaning something that contains protein, that is the most satiating nutrient, also contains a lot of fat, that is more calorie dense nutrients, that also has a lot of vital for our life and our health nutrients. So lower on volume and higher on caloric and nutrient density, and that diet is actually long term proven to help you lose more fat, and it also reduces your appetite by itself. So people on low carbohydrate diet or lower volume diet but with higher protein and higher fat content actually start eating less by themselves without anyone telling them to limit their calories, whereas diets low in fat but high in carbohydrates and high in volume, basically meaning bigger meals, makes you at the end of the day hungrier, because yes, you consume more volume, but when your stomach digests it, it understands that it doesn't get enough energy, and second, your stomach size expands, and then after that you need bigger meals to just feel full in your stomach, and a lot of people end up eating more. So the same, for example, take a lot of water that has no calories and drink like a gallon of it. Yes, you're gonna have full stomach and you won't be able to eat anything, but you pee in 30 minutes and it's all gone and you're hungrier than ever. So the same kind of thing happens with fiber and foods that have a lot of water, a lot of fiber, like a lot of vegetables and a lot of fruit and other large in volume foods. So you eat them, your body processes them fast, and then you're hungry again with bigger stomach ready for more food. And that doesn't happen if you consume a lot of healthy fats and a lot of protein in your meal. So that's why, for example, when I eat my salads, I always make sure that there is 2-3 tablespoons of olive oil and there is fatty protein coming with my meal in the form of fatty fish or eggs, and again, olive oil, olives, avocados. So when my body is done with digesting all that fiber, it also got a lot of protein and a lot of fat, and that's why I'm able to eat one meal a day and feel perfectly full and happy and not hungry for anything else. So this was all about caloric density and how actually eating smaller but higher in protein and fat, especially meals, makes you eat less at the end of the day, makes your stomach smaller. That also contributes to smaller meals and you eating less. And then, guys, gluconeogenesis, the process of your liver converting different nutrients, basically it's amino acids, partly glycerol from fat molecules, and also lactate, different chemical stuff your liver converts into glucose that your body needs. Some of it needs for brain functioning and for some other processes in your body. But what you want to understand is that your body does need some glucose for functioning, and when you lower your carbohydrates, your liver has to convert some of the proteins and some of the fats and lactate into glucose, and that process is costly. So when you lower your carbohydrates and you do not get enough of carbohydrates in your diet to make sure that your brain gets enough of glucose and your body gets enough all of the glucose it needs, your liver has to convert some of the proteins and some of the fats and lactate into glucose, and that again is a costly process, and the fuel gets converted with the efficiency of 1/3, meaning 1/3 of what is being converted going to be spent in energy terms on that conversion process. And that's why low carbohydrate diets per calorie, when you consume the same amount of calorie, actually makes you burn more calories. Not only that, but protein, for example, makes you burn somewhere around 30% of energy just for digestion to get the energy from it, and plus gluconeogenesis, the process of creating glucose from non-carbohydrate sources, from amino acids, from your fat molecule, glycerol in it, from lactate. That process also requires your body quite a lot of energy to make happen. By the way, gluconeogenesis is prevented by a lot of insulin that is caused by a lot of carbohydrates in your diet, meaning your body cannot efficiently use other sources of energy like fats, for example, when carbohydrate is high. That's why also high carb, high fat diet is such a disaster, metabolic disaster, because actually by eating more of that diet, you're not going to feel fuller because your body cannot use fat and glucose at the same time. But that put aside, I just want you to understand from all the studies, the book, The Poor Misunderstood Calories, written by PhD William Lagakos, who is PhD in biochemistry and physiology, you want to understand that low carbohydrate diets, having the same calorie volume, will make you burn more of those calories per energy, and with the same amount in terms of calories food, you will be burning more energy just by consuming less carbohydrates. That's why also a low carbohydrates diet are so effective in weight loss, because you end up eating less naturally because of more calorie density of the food you are eating, and you'll end up burning more of that energy for just converting some of that energy into glucose and for digestion and assimilation of nutrients. They even calculated that approximately people on low carb diet having the same amount of calories, total calories, burn daily without consciously doing anything 5% more energy than people on the same calories but with a higher carbohydrate diet. And in a year, it means 10 pounds of fat without literally doing or changing nothing. Plus, you end up eating less because of all this satiety. So God knows how many pounds of fat you lose just by reducing your carbohydrates. So yes, some diets make you actually burn more calories from the food you consume and on a daily basis, and those diets are more protein and more fat but lower carbohydrates. So caloric density, what does it mean, guys? To recap, it means a certain amount of calories per gram of food or nutrients. So for example, carbohydrates and protein per gram have 4 calories and fat has 9 calories. That is caloric density. But that doesn't mean that eating more fat makes you eat more calories, consume more calories, because when you eat higher carbohydrate diet, high fiber diet, and low in fat, your brain doesn't get the satiety signal as powerful as it gets from consuming more protein and more fat. And that's why on low fat diet, at the end of the day, you actually feel hungrier and end up eating more, because also high carbohydrate, high fiber foods without fat just expand the volume of your stomach, but you at the end of the day get hungrier, because in that volume there is nothing that your brain feels satiated about. So you want to eat more proteins and more fat in your diet, more essential nutrients, basically essential fatty acids, essential amino acids, because you're going to feel fuller and you're going to eat less naturally without consciously having to stop eating, but that only again happens if your diet is lower in carbohydrates at the same time. And we learned what is gluconeogenesis. That is the process of converting non-carbohydrate sources of fuel, like amino acids, like glycerol from your fat molecules, like lactate, into glucose. That is very costly for your liver process, and that process makes you burn more calories from the foods you consume. And because those foods, protein and fats, are also send more powerful signal to your brain about satiety, at the end of your day, being on a low carbohydrate diet, on a higher protein and high fat diet, makes you burn more energy, eating the same quote unquote amount of calories from your foods. And then at the end of the day, it sends more powerful signal to your brain about satiety, and you naturally end up eating less without the stomach expansion and bigger meals that a lot of fiber, a lot of carbohydrates in your diet, a lot of water cause when you're on a low fat diet. So what do you want to take away from this? Start eating low carbohydrate, higher fat, higher protein diet. Of course, details apply, and for these details, you can shoot me email to Angela@createyourself.today, Angela@createyourself.today, and I will guide you through your meal adjustment, so you end up doing the right thing, because there are so many ways to eat higher protein and higher fat diet that can cause also overeating and fat gain. Anyway, if you need advice for a higher protein, high fat diet that will make you eat less naturally and burn more calories from your foods, then shoot me email to Angela@createyourself.today, Angela@createyourself.today, and eat less carbs, more protein, more healthy fats, feel better, feel fuller, burn more calories from your foods. Love you all, guys. Thank you for listening. Until next time, eat less carbs and eat better daily.